One of the attachments I was most looking forward to in Season 7 of Delta Force is the ASh-12 Tomahawk barrel that just completely changes how the ASh-12 performs, and it is just a blast to play with. So I wanted to share my build with this barrel with all of you today. So I think we can all agree that the ASh-12 is a slightly underutilized weapon, but it does an absolute ton of damage, and with this new barrel, the ASh-12 Tomahawk Heavy Barrel, you're doing even more damage. As you can see, it's bumping up the base damage to 50, up from 34. Now, it does come with a few caveats, so we'll just install it, and I'll show you guys this real quick. So if we look at the damage model here, you're doing 50 damage to the thorax, 35 to the stomach, 25 to the limbs, and 75 to the head. So you are unfortunately only doing 50 damage directly to the thorax, similar to the AKM barrel that allows you to do higher damage model to the thorax specifically. Now, I don't know if the lower damage for the stomach is warranted. It is hard enough to control that you're probably going to be hitting limbs and the stomach quite a bit, but the TTK is still really fast because it's just doing so much damage. Regardless, we're going to keep building our weapons. So for the muzzle, you only have 3 choices here. I went with the Titan suppressor. I like suppressors. It does give you a nice +10 control, reduces the handling stability, but it is a very solid suppressor and does do weak gunshot suppression, which is very nice and keeps you off the minimap somewhat. For the foregrip, I wanted to go with this one, but it would reduce the handling too much as well as the stability, so I just ended up going for the RKO foregrip, which is right here, which reduces the vertical control or vertical recoil of the weapon, and it's still going to kick a lot, but thankfully the fire rate is slow enough that you'll still be able to somewhat manage it. So go ahead and install that. For the magazine, at first I hadn't equipped the 30 rounder. I felt like 20 was fine, but then I was playing a little bit more aggressive and I found myself running out of ammo quite a bit in firefights, so I just went for the 30. Now you do lose a little bit of handling, so we're going to focus on that for the rest. For the stock, you have 2 options here, this one, the sniper stock or the skeleton. I went with the skeleton stock because I really wanted to bump up the handling so it didn't feel so sluggish. For the optic, now I went for a 2x, the Russian viewpoint 2x, if I can find it right here. I think it's lower right here. So I really like the optic or the reticle of this weapon or this sight, and I was using this weapon even as like a budget marksman rifle because it is doing really high damage, and I was taking on fights at longer ranges, but we'll keep talking about that a little bit later. Then for all of these 3 rail attachments, I simply went with a DD Python handguard panel to increase or make the ADS time faster, because again, this weapon has really bad ADS time base, so if you lower it too much, it's just going to be, you're just going to lose every firefight because you're not going to be able to ADS fast enough. For the calibration, starting off with the barrel here, I went with +50 grams, +10 millimeters. I wanted that extra muzzle velocity because the muzzle velocity on this thing is really bad by default. For the foregrip, I went with -2 slots and +20 millimeters to get, as you can't really see here, but extra stability when moving and extra ADS speed, because the stability when moving wasn't great considering we didn't put many points into it. For the calibration on the stock, +50 grams, -50 millimeters, extra control, extra hip fire aim speed, and finally for the optic, -20 millimeters in eye relief. So if we look at the stats of the weapon details here, for the control, we bumped it up by 30. As you can see, it does still kick quite a bit to the left, to the right, to the left, and then to the right again. But considering how few shots it takes, you could probably just do a quick little burst and potentially kill them. So the recoil, even though it's pretty aggressive, you're not firing that many rounds at an enemy in order to kill them. For the handling, we lost 2, but we did keep the current ADS speed even faster than it was before, so at 328 milliseconds. So it's still pretty snappy for such a bulky weapon. Now, unfortunately, we did cut down on the ADS movement speed and sprint to fire delay slightly, but still very manageable. For the stability, we gave it a +1, so just to get a little bit more lens firing stability, and movement stability, we bumped it up, otherwise it was too low. And then finally for the accuracy, really not the main focus for this weapon. You're not going to be wanting to just hip fire people down. Now, to use this ASh-12 build, you're going to need to level it up to 45, and you will need to unlock the ASh-12 Tomahawk barrel via the armory. It requires you to play 3 games of either AD or King of the Hill, then score, I think it's 10,000 points, and then get 20 kills within like 20 meters for some reason. A weird requirement, but I digress. This barrel just makes, well, the ASh-12 is very good base because it only takes 3 shots to kill. Now, the caveat, it does have a lot of recoil, and the recoil with this specific barrel is potentially even slightly more difficult to control, but you're doing 50 damage a shot. Now, the theoretical TTK on this, I believe, is like 150 milliseconds based on the fire rate. That barrel, I forgot to mention, it does reduce the fire rate by 100, but again, you're doing 50 damage per shot, and with a TTK of 150 milliseconds, if you hit both shots in the chest, is just absolutely wild. And at first I had the 1x optic on here, but I felt like I was taking fights at longer ranges, like medium-ish range most of the time, and that 1x optic just wasn't cutting it. And on maps like Threshold, I would be up on top of Bravo very briefly. I would switch it to single fire and then just tap fire, single fire down people that were on Charlie, and it was very, very effective. It does a ton of damage, even more to the head with 75 damage. It's absolutely fantastic. And if you haven't used the ASh-12 in the past, I would highly recommend trying it out. It is a very fun weapon, even more so with this chunky barrel. As per usual, the weapon share code will be in the description down below, as well as in the top pinned comment. If you'd like to see a weapon featured in an upcoming episode, please leave it down there as well. In any case, I'll leave you with a few highlight clips of me using this specific build. But yeah, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.
Deploying Tim!